Hello and welcome to the Circling the Bases podcast. I'm DJ Short, and joining me here once again is Scott Pianowski from Yahoo. We are live on Twitch this afternoon, so thanks to those joining us over there. And if you are listening in podcast form or watching later on YouTube, we're recording on Wednesday afternoon. A lot of day baseball going on again. It feels really good to have that kind of in the background as we start our day, just a whole day of baseball. I'm super psyched on that. The Mets are about to get started in a little bit. But unfortunately, just more and more injuries, it feels like. And this is our Waiver Wire Wednesday episode, which has been an interesting exercise for me this week because it feels like the waiver wire is thinning out a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think that speaks to because there's been so many injuries, people are filling up those IL spots and they're getting, first of all, people are getting more aggressive with their claims anyway. I think people have realized how important it is to hit the wire early in the season. And with a lot of guys being hurt, we were talking about before the show started, this fantasy baseball season feels like a fantasy football season with the attrition. And it just underscores the need to, fantasy baseball is so much about your routines, doing your diligence, just making sure you have guys replaced and making sure you have your IL spots filled and making sure you're making sure somebody didn't get saved last night that you didn't know about, stuff like that. Just that's a big part of fantasy baseball is just putting the work in. And that's why,
Yeah.
that's why you come to us. Hopefully we can save you some time. Obviously the Rotoworld site and the Rotoworld app is going to save you time. But to win a fantasy baseball league, you really need to put the reps in. And this season, especially with the injuries hitting so hard early.
It feels especially from the pitching side. So finding some pitching recommendations this week was a little challenging for me. Some weeks are more fruitful than others, but this week was a little bit challenging. But we still have some names for you guys to check out. We're each going to offer 5 pickups, generally available in over 50% of Yahoo leagues, but kind of trying to touch leagues of all different depths. So hopefully we have something good for you guys. Before we get started, remember every season is draft season. Get your Rotoworld Draft Guide bundle today and dominate your football, baseball, and basketball drafts. Packed with profiles, rankings, projections. Order today and get all 3 Rotoworld Draft Guides for the price of 2. Plus, use promo code BERRY, BERRY, and save an extra 20% at checkout. Again, that's promo code BERRY. Go to NBCSportsEdge.com today and get your bundle. Before you know it, it'll be fantasy football season. So definitely get prepared for that. So Scott, as we've done in the previous 2 weeks, we're going to start out our waiver wire recommendations with our very own pitch clock. You will get 60 seconds to make your pitch for one of your recommended players this week. And I get to pick from your list of 5 players. You sent me 5 players. I'm going to pick one at random, and I'm just going to set you off, set you loose. You make your pitch for that player. This week, I'm going to go with JD Davis, who's off to a hot start with the Giants. Let's hear your elevator pitch on JD Davis.
Yeah, let's see if my internal clock can count to 60 better than it did in the first episode 2 weeks ago. You know all about JD Davis, right? New York Mets, 2019, when he got a chance. The one time he got a chance to be a regular major league player, 307, 369, 527 slash. He hit 22 home runs in 140 games. Since then, I know he's not a great defensive player. He became kind of a quasi-regular for the Mets. Now he's in San Francisco. That's cleaned up on what looks like a league average offense. It's not a destination offense, but I don't think it's a weak offense either. Qualifies at 2 positions. He's hitting over 300. He's got a handful of home runs already. His career OPS plus is 118. This is a good offensive player. Yeah, we're always looking for flexibility. The lineup real estate matches up. He's still at an arc of his career where I think you could maybe see a career season from him. So JD Davis is somebody I even think in shallow mixed leagues should be rostered. That's all I got on JD Davis. I don't know how close I am to the horn, but I think he's a great pickup. He did it in 2019. I think he's part of an underrated, sneaky Giants offense.
Very good. Took up our whole 60 seconds here. Fun little fact about JD Davis. So he came over to the Giants in a trade with the Mets last year. Darren Ruff traded to the Mets in a much maligned trade from the Mets side of things. And now Darren Ruff is back with the Giants after the Mets released him. But JD Davis, since coming over to the Giants, 64 game sample, 212 plate appearances, he has a 900 OPS. with 12 home runs. I mean, he's one of those guys who's always hit the ball hard, but strikeouts have been an issue for him, especially over the past 2 years. But so far this year, he's made more in the way of contact. Like he said, he's right there in the middle of the Giants lineup, qualifies at multiple positions. And who knows? The Giants are one of those teams in the past couple of years, especially, uncovers value from underappreciated talents. I wonder if that could be the case with Davis. So I'm in on him as well.
I'll tell you who he reminds me of a little bit, and I realize he's not that valuable maybe today, but think of when Luke Voigt popped with the Cardinals, right? And then he had a moment with the Yankees before he got hurt, where a guy who was a late bloomer who looked like maybe he might have been a quad A player, and then he got a chance to play. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this guy can hit for a plus average. This guy can hit 25 home runs. I think JD Davis is the same type of guy. And because the Giants, although I think they do have a solid offense, they don't have depth to the point that nobody's pushing him for playing time. And we've already seen some injuries there. We see injuries in every city right now. I think JD Davis is finally going to get that full season. He had a full, I guess, essentially a full season with the Mets in 2019. And look, he had a great year. He had a slash line that we would all take. If he hit 307 again with 22 home runs, he'd be rostered in 10-team mixed leagues. I'm shocked he's still not. I'm a little cheating a little bit because he's in the high 40s. So again, in the deeper leagues, he is gone. But I think even in 10 and 12-team mixed leagues, it's time to get in on JD Davis.
So the first one for me is Harrison Bader. So he's available in 68% of Yahoo leagues right now. Someone I liked a lot going into the spring when we did our outfielder preview episode. I believe I mentioned him. However, he began the year on the injured list due to an oblique injury. He's set to face Luis Severino in batting practice on Thursday. Then he's going to go out on a minor league rehab assignment. Given the lengthy absence, though, I would expect him to need several games in the minors to shake the rust at the plate. But he should be back by the end of the month. Granted, there's a lot of injuries going on right now, so maybe your IL spots are full. Maybe not. I love IL stashes. I think we talked about this in previous weeks. Alex Kirilloff last week, Brian Bayo the week before that. Bayo didn't work out so great in his first start back, but that's the advantage of the IL spot on certain websites where you can keep that player in the IL spot, see how they do in their first start back, first couple of games. You can do that with Bader too. What I like about Bader, sprint speed. He's regularly in the 90th percentile so far in the majors. The Yankees have been very aggressive with stolen bases, a top 10 team as far as stolen bases so far. I expect him to run when he gets the chance. And also Bader has hit as many as 16 home runs in a season. He can be a double-digit homer steal guy in Yankee Stadium, good situation lineup. To me, he's an obvious stash.
Yeah, for sure. Category Juice will play. He's won a Gold Glove before, so if he's healthy, that will mark his position in the lineup. You think, well, what do I care about defense? Well, if you're a really good defender, you're on the field.
Very true.
The Yankees lineup is in flux right now. I mean, it's who's to say that Bader couldn't eventually percolate to the top of the lineup, and even if he bats 8th or 9th, he's still going to get up with Aaron Judge, batting sometimes, which could offset the fact that he might be in the bottom third of the lineup. I think he could eventually be their leadoff hitter. I know he doesn't have traditional leadoff skills, 317 career OBP, but bottom line is this: he offers a really good speed, some power. He might hit for what would be a fantasy league average batting average. So people may say, well, he's going to hurt my average. I think he'll be neutral there. I'm not so worried about that. Let's get in on Bader before the market gets in on Bader and see if we can get him at our price rather than have to buy at the top of the bucket. The rest of my promotion guys, you mentioned pitching, and pitchers get hurt all the time, and we're always chasing saves. I have a couple of starters and a couple of relievers I'm going to go through with the rest of my guys. First guy, I'll stick with the Yankees, and I'll mention Domingo German, who's had interesting start to the season. He strikes out 8 in his first start, but doesn't get out of the 5th inning. And then he was just bad in his second start. His third start, he strikes out 11 against the Twins, but there's a little controversy. There's too much sticky stuff on German. Actually, the Twins manager, Rocco Baldelli, got thrown out of that game because he was questioning what was going on. So the Twins weren't too happy about that. So what do we have here? 19 strikeouts, 5 walks through 3 starts. That's a good ratio. And you look at German's career, he's always had mediocre ERAs and really good whips. If you look at his last 4 seasons, folding in this season into that, 4.09 ERA, which is a little bit below code for fantasy, but a 1.15 whip. And generally, the rule of thumb is when the ERA and whip tell different stories, the whip is more predictive. I would bet that maybe German has a year where his ERA could be in the mid to low 3s. He's just been a little bit lucky with the ERA. Again, I'm chasing the strikeouts. The Yankees are a good team. I know we talk about chasing wins. It can be a little bit of a fool's errand, but I'll chase wins with a team that's going to win 90+ games, and you can chase wins, on the Royals if you want or whatever. Although I do have a starting pitcher on a losing team later for you. But the bottom line is, anytime somebody strikes out double-digit guys in a game, I'm interested. And I've always thought German was kind of a sleeping giant because of those really good whips that don't match the ERAs. Maybe this year's ERA is more in line with what his skills suggest he can do.
I like it. I think he's worth a shot, especially like we were saying. I mean, it's getting thin out there for kind of breakout guys who haven't yet percolated above 50% rostered in Yahoo, and I think German is one of those.
Widely available, by the way. He's 81%, 81% available on Yahoo. So he's
very good.
He's out there in most leagues.
So what I'm going to mention here is I think this this roster number is going to go up real quick, maybe pending what happens on Wednesday. But Mason Miller, top prospect for the Athletics. This was a big surprise to see him get called up. Available in the moment in 69% of Yahoo leagues. He's going to make his MLB debut Wednesday against the Cubs. Probably a cap around 80 pitches in his debut. And that's kind of the rub with Miller. But he checks all the boxes, and what you're looking for is a potential fantasy ace. 6'5", 200 pounds, just looks like a throwback horse to lead a rotation. He averaged 100 miles per hour on his four-seam fastball last Friday in a start which got a lot of people's attention in dynasty leagues, but not necessarily mixed leagues because we didn't think he was going to be coming up this soon. But for the A's, a team where, I mean, honestly, they're embarrassing. I think they could take any good news they can, any kind of gate attraction they can get, and Mason Miller can come up and make a difference right away. The rub, though, he's only thrown 28 and 2/3 innings in the minors. So it's like, what are you going to get here fantasy-wise? How deep is he going to pitch into games? How many innings can he reasonably throw this year? Those are all legit questions, but the stuff is so good. It's ridiculous. Cutter, slider, power pitcher who can dominate. To me, he's an automatic pickup. And that's, it's an easy thing for me to say. I'm not saying who you should drop. It's going to vary from league to league. But I think this is one of those kind of prospects where you stash and see how it plays out. Stash the one, or drop the one guy where you're like, I can replace this person. And just take a shot and see what happens. He's that exciting to me.
Totally good call on this one with Miller. The first thing I ask with any pitcher who's coming up, other than, what do the scouts think? What's the pedigree here? Does he strike people out? As you mentioned, Miller's only thrown 28 and 2/3 innings in the minors. They've handled him kind of curiously because he's made a lot of starts, but he hasn't pitched a lot of innings. But his stats just don't even look real. 28 and 2/3 innings, 14 hits. Now, he's allowed 9 runs because he's allowed 5 home runs. That's been his big bugaboo. He's only walked 6 guys. And in 28 and 2/3 innings, he struck out 53. I don't care who you're pitching against. That's ridiculous. Basically 2 strikeouts an inning. Yep. Just about. It doesn't make any sense. As you said, 6'5". He fills up the uniform. He's got the raw stuff. He's somebody who I could see pitching a lot of 4 and 5, maybe inning games. So the wins might be dicey, but he might strike out 9 guys in the time that he's in the game. So much of managing your strikeouts is strikeouts per 9 in some Yahoo leagues or other fantasy formats. You have cap on starts or cap on innings. So K per 9 is a stat that you're worried about. That's going to help him. We know the Oakland Park is very big. That will maybe help him with the home runs a little bit. The bottom line is this. Somebody had a great Twitter thread on this a couple days ago about risk and reward. In life, you want to get in with low risk where there's a big reward. And that's what you get with Miller. Right now, you acquire him at the cost of the worst player on your roster. And the upside is maybe he strikes out 13 guys per 9 innings and gives you 80 or 100 or 120 dynamic innings. So I definitely want in on that. I think that's a great call. And if nothing else, it'll be fun to watch. God knows we need something in Oakland to watch of interest because there isn't much. But I'm looking forward to seeing Miller's debut. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has double-digit strikeouts in that game. Who had a double-digit strikeout game recently was Jose Oviedo, who's chased up to 45% in Yahoo. Now, as we speak, he's getting ready for his Colorado start. So be gentle, dear listener. By the time you hear this, Oviedo may have already allowed 7 runs. I don't know. Or who knows? Maybe he'll throw a quality start in Colorado and we'll feel even better about him. But anytime you see somebody with a double-digit strikeout game, you want to move. His last 2 starts have actually been really clean. uptick in velocity, right? He's a fastball slider guy, and so that velocity really matters. It's become his main pitches, and the Pirates look better than expected to me. I thought they were going to be just a clown car, and then O'Neill Cruz gets hurt. I'm like, oh God, look out below. I'm thinking maybe they can be like a 75, 78 win team. I think Ben Cherington is a really smart GM. So I'm not as down on this team, even without Cruz, which is no fun because he's their signature player. I think the Pirates are kind of quasi-competitive. I think Oviedo might be their best starter. I picked him up a lot of leagues. I did not use him at Colorado. I'll be pleasantly surprised if he survives that. But after what he did the last two starts, I think he's an automatic add. Again, I'm kind of picking some low-hanging fruit. I'll try to give you some deeper picks later, but currently at 45%, underrated Pirates team. Again, chase those double-digit strikeout games.
Yeah, and I have a similar thought with Eduardo Rodriguez, who had a great start against the Guardians on Tuesday night. Struck out 10 batters, 8 scoreless innings, no walks, just 4 hits allowed. I mean, that jumps off the page to me. We all know what happened with Rodriguez during the COVID season, of course. He was sidelined all year due to myocarditis, but is largely disappointed since, including that first season with the Tigers last year, made just 17 starts. Still, I think this outing last night is a good reminder of what Rodriguez is capable of. And he had a pretty good start against the Blue Jays in the start before that. Now, Rodriguez's velocity isn't all the way back to where it once was when he was with the Red Sox and really thriving here. And I don't think this Tigers offense is anything to be that excited about. They've overachieved a bit too, but I'm not looking for win potential here necessarily. But Rodriguez is a 2-start pitcher next week, gets the Brewers and the Orioles. 2 offenses that can do some things, but still, I would take a shot here. So, if you have your waiver period on Sunday, let's say, and Rodriguez is available in, I believe, over 80% of Yahoo leagues right now, I think he's a good pitcher to take a shot on, maybe get a couple of wins next week, or maybe at least one. But he has the track record here that I would take a chance on.
Yeah, it's the time to get in on him if you're going to do it. You do. If you don't want him for his 2-start week, you just don't want him at all. And our friends Rick Wolf and Glenn Colton, Colton and the Wolfman, part of a very successful fantasy partnership. One of their main tenets is they don't like to invest in a fantasy player when he signs the big contract, goes to a new team. That was Rodriguez last year. But kind of the second part of that is, okay, well, second year, they're acclimated. They've moved their family. They've gotten the lay of the land. Sometimes it's really good to buy those guys after they have disappointing seasons. So you can get Rodriguez, as you mentioned, widely available in Yahoo. And the Tigers, I don't think the Tigers are a good team. I still think they'll probably come under their win total, but I don't think they're like a 105 loss team either. Yeah. And with the 5 walks, 19 strikeouts, that lines up. I think Rodriguez, if nothing else, I think he makes sense as a short-term pickup. You get him for the 2-start week, and then you can reevaluate after he goes through those 2 turns. So we're always looking for saves, and we're always looking for, in nebulous bullpens, you want to see who can get some traction. And in Miami, that's AJ Puck. Again, and it's not the deepest ad. I realize in a lot of the formats where, your 15 team, he's probably long gone. But 12 teamers, he might be available. 10 teamers, he certainly is. He's got saves his last 2 outings, and the baton is the thing in a bullpen. He's got the facial hair you want in a closer. That's good. He's using his slider a lot more this year. It's become his most prominent pitch, over 50% usage for the slider. 8 innings, just 1 run, no walks, 8 strikeouts. And he's getting high leverage work. I think at the end of the season, he may have 5 to 7 wins. He may have anywhere from like 18 to 25 saves. And Miami's probably, 83, 84 win team. They have some decent starting pitching. I think opportunities will be there. Now, Floro has actually pitched well also, but he's not the guy they like in the 9th inning right now. It's Puck. If you have the baton in your hand, that's so much of a part of the saves chase. I'm surprised Puck is still eligible for this piece. I would have thought he would have been, if you asked me off the top of my head, he's going to be like 70% rostered, right? So it's your last call on AJ Puck. He's going to run away with this job. He's already really got 1.5 feet towards it already.
It is funny that, at one point, Puck and Luzardo were the 2 big names with the A's as far as their top prospect pitchers, and now they're both on the Marlins. And I trust the Marlins to, do well by their pitching. So Puck certainly figures into that. Before my next pick, just a quick reminder, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in your app store today. I think what I love about this app is that you will get alerts when there's a big injury, there's a trade. So you can go out there, and especially if your waiver wire is a free for all, you can make that move right away. So I think it plays to your advantage to download this app, and it'll maximize your chances of winning in your league. So I'm going to go deeper with my final couple of picks here. First one for me, Alec Burleson with the Cardinals, available in 97% of Yahoo leagues, and he's actually carved out a prominent role in this Cardinals lineup, and also encouraging that he's been in a good lineup spot. He's mostly hit third or second when he's played recently. He's actually out of the lineup on Wednesday. The Diamondbacks pitch Mass and Bumgarner. So yeah, I think this is more of like a strong side platoon, mostly playing against righties. But it's encouraging that he's still getting at bats, even with Lars Nootbaar back from the injured list. Burleson makes contact. He hits the ball hard, 85th percentile in average exit velocity, 77th percentile in hard hit percentage. And he looks like Lance Berkman to me. When I watch him swing a bat, that's all I see. That's all I see. And we saw how well Lance Berkman did with the Cardinals. I think he's been an underrated hitting prospect in the minors, and there's a chance he could break through this year. Granted, in a 10-team, 12-team league, you can skip it, but 15-team or a 12-team with like 5 outfielder spots, I think Burleson should be on your radar.
For sure. Age 24 season. So you ask yourself, okay, he's a platoon player, but he's playing on the strong side of the platoon as a lefty hitter, so we like that. Where is he in the lineup? He's sitting second in front of Goldschmidt, in front of Arenado, in front of Wilson Contreras. We like that. And with Brendan Donovan's dinged up right now. I mean, eventually, we say a lot of times, like, if you like the skills of a starting pitcher, don't worry about the depth of the rotation. Somebody eventually will get hurt. It's not fun to say that, but it's just a fact of life. That goes for the offense too. Alec Burleson basically becomes a no doubt regular player every day if one guy gets hurt. And notice they're giving him DH at bats. That means we want your bat in the lineup no matter what. That matters to me. When you become a DH a couple of games in a row, that means you're a priority offensive player for that team, and you're batting second for the Cardinals. That means something to me. And this organization they've been so good with developing players. They've been right so often with guys that when somebody comes out of the woodwork with the Cardinals for whatever reason, whether he's a post-hype sleeper or maybe just a guy who never got a chance somewhere else, I always am interested in those guys. I think he's a great player to go after. I'm going to cheat here on my, I think this is my final guy. Jose Alvarado was somebody you mentioned last week, but come on, Yahoo managers, you're lagging on this one. He's still available in 61% of leagues. He's got 0 walks. He's got 18 strikeouts. If you see anybody with that ratio, I don't even care what his role is. I want you to grab him. Now, he got a save Tuesday. Nobody in Philadelphia has more than 1 save. I get it. But Kimbrel's not pitching well. Dominguez isn't pitching well. Yep. Eventually, Alvarado's either going to become the fireman of this bullpen, which means he might get 7 to 9 wins, or he'll become the closer with a capital C, which means he might get 20 saves. I don't even think it's out of the question. He could do both of those things. The Phillies are a 90-win team, as I see. It sounds like Bryce Harper, all the news is good on him. That's going to be exciting when he comes back. This is a team you want to get invested in. You want the best reliever in their bullpen. And right now, look at all the stats. It all screams out Dominguez because other guys aren't pitching well. So he's going to get the high leverage work. That means wins. That means saves and 18 strikeouts in 7 1/3 innings. Again, I don't know what people are waiting for. Maybe they needed to see that first save on Tuesday, but he's going to be the man in this bullpen. And this is your last call. And then you got DJ tried to give me last week. So I hope a lot of you people already are on the Alvarado train. But he's somebody I want you to acquire right now. Don't even listen to DJ's last pick. Just go get Jose Alvarado, then come to Jonas.
Well, I'm glad you recommended a Philly here because our first MLB Sunday morning leadoff game is this Sunday. Rockies Phillies at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'll actually be on the post-game show talking fantasy and betting, so stay tuned for that. Very excited about another year of Major League Baseball on Peacock. So make sure you tune in as we get the day of baseball started. Early start time on Sunday. My final pick for this week is Luis Garcia on the Nationals, not the Astros version, but with the Nationals available in 92% of Yahoo leagues. Has always put up good numbers in the minors. In the majors, kind of more so. The approach last year was really bad, struck out 22.3% of the time, basically never walked. But what I've seen so far, this season has been really encouraging. I don't think Garcia is ever going to be patient, but he struck out just 3 times in 46 plate appearances. He was at 22.3% last year with his strikeout rate. So that strikeout rate so far this year, third lowest among players with at least 40 plate appearances. Only Luis Arraez and Mauricio Dubon have been lower. As far as contact rate, Garcia's right in the same range as Stephen Kwan and Luis Arraez. We've talked about this in the past. Those kind of numbers, the strikeouts, the walks, that stabilizes fairly quickly. It's a really encouraging sign for me. Garcia only has a 231 batting average on balls in play so far, but XBA, which you can find on Baseball Savant, has Garcia at 325. His expected slugging is at 552. Garcia available in 92% of Yahoo leagues, more than 90%. Eligible at second base and shortstop. I think he's worth a shot in deeper leagues, and this is a guy who's still very young, and I think he has a chance to take a big step forward this year.
Great call. Love the potential plausible upside here and a couple of positions of eligibility. I'm going to give you a bonus pick because a lot of my picks this week were close to the 50% threshold. So I know a lot of you probably, hey, I can't pick up that guy. Hey, I can't pick up that guy. Well, you probably can pick up Taylor Walls of Tampa Bay, who's been mostly glove only until this season, but he's done some really fine hitting for the Rays, hitting 351, 3 homers, stolen base, qualifies as second, shortstop, and third. He's again really good defender. His offensive stats before this year will make your eyes bleed, but hit a couple of home runs on Tuesday, was back in the lineup on Wednesday. I'm looking for any way into this Tampa Bay lineup, and maybe Tampa Bay's another team. They uncover guys and they find players who are versatile. They find players who maybe outkick what their raw skills suggest they can do. I would not be surprised if by the end of the season, we're like, oh, how did Taylor Walls have like a 13 home run, 11 steal, 275 season? I think it's in play. Bottom of your roster, he can float around, cover different positions. If his bat turns into a pumpkin, fine, you'll pick up somebody else. But I'm looking to he's going to play, I think, probably 80% of the time with Tampa Bay. And if the bat stays hot, maybe that could move up. And because he qualifies at so many different positions, he's such a good glove man. If one key player gets hurt, not that I want to see Wander Franco get hurt or anything, but if one guy gets hurt in Tampa Bay, maybe Walls plays all the time. Players are always working on their craft, improving. There's ebbs and flows to these things. I'm not going to hold against Walls what he did last year. Again, nothing from last year's resume will recommend him, but off to a good start with the AL's best team through 3 weeks. I'm going to kick the tires on Walls in some deeper leagues.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the power necessarily, but what he does well, he gets on base. He has a good approach. He doesn't really chase or swing and miss very much. And the speed is excellent. And I would expect the Rays to be aggressive. So yeah, I think that's a good call in a deeper league. I also wanted to mention Joey Gallo coming back from the IL today. One to keep an eye on if you need immediate power help. Michael Brantley starting in a minor league rehab assignment as well. That's probably going to be a little bit because he hasn't played at all, even in the spring. But I think he's a name to keep an eye on because we know Dusty Baker loves his veterans. And when Brantley's back, he'll probably hit number 2 in that Astros lineup. I might mention a bit more about Brantley next week, but he's one I would stash if I could.
I just want to cry when he hits. Not that Michael Brantley isn't a good player, and I'll sign off on the recommendation, but when he bats second, that means Jordan Alvarez, who's just a god, will bat 4th, and Kyle Tucker will bat 6th. And Kyle Tucker should be hitting second for them. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
But still, Houston. It's funny. I mean, Chas McCormick was starting to pop in the leadoff spot. Then he gets hurt. They haven't had a lot of injury luck with that lineup. But when they get guys healthy, it's going to be a top 5 lineup again. And I backed off Alvarez because he was hurt in spring training, and I just didn't want to take anybody with any red ink on them in the first round. And man, am I regretting that? Not that he's going crazy or anything, but he is. I think he might be the best hitter in baseball.
So unfortunately, Jeffrey Springs needs Tommy John surgery, but
hate it.
Hate that, but Taj Bradley, man, he's incredible.
I have no Bradley, and it kills me because he looks so good.
He does, and I did get him in TGFBI just because I needed the pitching so bad. But I wish I had him in more leagues. He
must be way over. Is he over 50%? He has to be, right?
I believe so. But here's what I would say: if you can do a futures play in Rookie of the Year, go do it for Taj.
He's 56%. I know that basically disqualifies him for this segment, but he should be 90%, even 100%. He is the top pitching prospect for one of the best teams in baseball, a team that will play good defense behind him, should have good bullpen work, and he's a strikeout guy. We saw it against the Red Sox, plenty of swings and misses in that game. You're gonna, man. I have all the FOMO. I'm gonna try to trade for this guy if I can. And you talk about everybody's like, oh, buy low, sell high. Sometimes you have to buy high on somebody. I would actually buy high on Taj Bradley, and knowing that as a prospect, as a first year pitcher, they probably don't want to throw him some ridiculous amount of innings. But I don't care. Even if he makes like 18 or 20 starts with Tampa Bay, I'm interested. And hate to see Springs get hurt because he just looked like he was going to be a monster again. I don't know how many innings he was slated to throw because he's been a reliever most of his career, but he was untouchable in his early, to the point that I probably overdrafted him in the Friends and Family League because he had already had the one start against Detroit, a huge hit for Tampa Bay. But they have such great depth. The organization is so smart. You're going to want Taj Bradley, please. If he's 56%, I want the next time we talk, I want that to be in the 80s or 90s.
I think it probably will. So you're headed on vacation. Have fun, Scott. Shelly Bearstrait's going to fill in for you next Monday. So looking forward to that, and we'll see you when you get back, which will be a week from today.
So by the way, you and Shelly off to a first place start in the Friends and Family League. I know Shelly was the brains behind the draft.
Yeah.
Well, what you're working on the player development? Are you in extended spring training or whatever it is? But
yes.
I never suggested you guys partner up because now you guys are going to crush the league, and I'll come in 9th place or something. Although my team's actually rallied a little bit. I'm in 5th, and I'm sitting on Bryce Harper, who I'm just projecting to hit 65 home runs when he comes back. So look out for me when Harper comes back. But still, I did lose Springs in that league.
And remember, Fernando Tatis Jr., he's eligible to come back tomorrow, Thursday. So looking forward to that.
Tatis, great. You're in first place without Tatis. That's just lovely.
So yes, Tatis, really looking forward to seeing him back, an impact fantasy performer. Scott, we'll see you next week. Remember to subscribe to Circling the Bases wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate and review. If you like what you're hearing, follow us on Twitter. If you don't already, Scott is at Scott_Pianowski. I'm at DJ Short. Take care, everyone. We will see you next week.